Good morning. We will look at the essay Getting Up on Cold Mornings by Leigh Hunt. The essay is prescribed for the students of English Literature, BA Part 3, Paper 2. First, a look at the biography of Leigh Hunt, the writer of the essay. James Henry Leigh Hunt was born at Southgate, London, where his parents had settled after leaving the United States. His father, Isaac, a lawyer from Philadelphia, and his mother, Mary Schwell, a merchant's daughter and a devout Quaker, had been forced to come to Britain because of their loyalist sympathies during the American War of Independence. Once in England, Isaac Hunt, meaning the father of Leigh Hunt, became a popular preacher but was unsuccessful in obtaining a permanent living. Leigh Hunt was educated at Christ's Hospital in London from 1791 to 1799, a period that Hunt described in his autobiography. Thomas Barnes was a school friend. One of the boarding houses at Christ's Hospital is named after Hunt. As a boy, Hunt was an admirer of Thomas Gray and William Collins, writing many verses in imitation of them. A speech impediment, later cured, prevented Hunt from going to university. For some time after I left school, he says, I did nothing but visit my school fellows, haunt the bookstalls, and write verses. Hunt's first poems were published in 1801 under the title of Juvenilia, introducing him into British literary and theoretical society. He began to write for the newspapers and published in 1807 a volume of theatre criticism and a series of classic tales with critical essays on the authors. Leigh Hunt was a poet, familiar essayist, critic, political commentator, playwright, and translator. While he wrote well in all these genres, and with occasional brilliance in some, his reputation as an essayist has best endured. Hunt's early essays were published by Edward Quinn, editor and owner of The Traveller. Hunt wrote at least 3 distinct kinds of essays: critical, political, and familiar. His first essays, those published in The Traveller in 1804, over the signature of Mr. Towne, critic and censor general, were critical. In 1805 to 1807, he published a number of articles of dramatic criticism in the News, and of course, The Examiner printed many critical and political articles over the years when Hunt was editor. But the kind of essays that Hunt was master of, perhaps no one in the 19th century other than Lamb wrote better ones, were the familiar essays. Many of them appeared in journals of which he was editor: The Reflector, 11 to 1812, Indicator, 1819 to 1821, Liberal, 1822 to 23, Companion, 1828, Tatler, 1830 to 1832, Leigh Hunt's London Journal, 1834 to 35, and Leigh Hunt's Journal, 1850 to 51. He also published essays in many other journals, but the best of his familiar essays appeared in The Indicator, Companion, and Leigh Hunt's London Journal. In 1805 to 1807, he published a number of articles of dramatic criticism in the News and, of course, the Examiner, printed many critical and political articles over the years when Hunt was editor. But the kind of essays that Hunt was master of, perhaps no one in the 19th century other than Lamb wrote better ones, were the familiar essays. Many of them appeared in journals of which he was editor. Reflector 1811-12, Indicator 1819-21, Liberal 1822-23, Companion 1828, Tatler 1830-32, Leigh Hunt's London Journal 1834-35, and Leigh Hunt's Journal 1850-51. He also published essays in many other journals, but the best of his familiar essays appeared in The Indicator, Companion, and Leigh Hunt's London Journal. The topics of the familiar essays were wide-ranging. No other contemporary essayist wrote on so many. As his son Thornton noted, few essayists have equaled or approached Leigh Hunt. As his son Thornton noted, few essayists have equaled or approached Leigh Hunt in the combined versatility, invention, and finish of his miscellaneous prose writings. The critical essays reveal a keen sense of what is good in literature. They quote extensively from the works being considered. The familiar essays are famous for their quiet good humor. They are seldom as polished as the essays of Charles Lamb or as perceptive as those of William Hazlitt. Still, a few, such as Getting Up on Cold Mornings and Deaths of Little Children, continue to be anthologized as classics. In his own time, the general reading public respected Leigh Hunt as an important literary figure, one whose opinions on literature and the political scene were both valid and influential. His role as editor of several periodicals afforded him an effective means of voicing those opinions to a great many readers, far more than expensive books could reach. Thus, Hunt was the great popularizer of the Romantic movement in England. Later critics, however, concluded that several of his contemporaries, though then of less influence and popularity, were actually better artists and more profound thinkers. The common 20th century attitude has tended to ignore Hunt's individual achievements, instead viewing him as the comparatively less important hub of an illustrious literary circle. John Keats, Percy Bysshe Shelley, Lord Byron, Lamb, and Hazlitt in particular. More recently, critics have again begun to assess Hunt's own achievements, and while few would allow that he was as fine a poet as Keats, as graceful an essayist as Lamb, or as profound a critic as Hazlitt, still his work does not merit oblivion. That is, he cannot be forgotten. His translations are among the finest in English, and he must be credited with increasing the English-speaking world's awareness of Italian literature. His countless journalistic pieces reflect wide reading and high standards of scholarship, and he deserves recognition for his contribution to the quality of popular journalism. A fair assessment of Hunt's literary achievement would have to include his positive influence on the several young poets who went on to surpass their mentor. But that assessment should also not overlook the quality of his own work as a journalist and translator. Now we will look at the summary of the essay Getting Up on Cold Mornings. An essay is presented on getting up in a cold morning. It analyzes the claim of some people that it is a very easy thing to get up of a cold morning. It explores how a proud man and an ingenious liar in bed think of themselves when they do not get up in a cold morning. Leigh Hunt's Getting Up on Cold Mornings appeared in The Indicator in 1820. Everyone knows that it is pleasant to lie in bed on cold mornings. No one wants to get up at such an earlier time, but one gets up only on compulsion. Leigh Hunt deals with the familiar experience in a mock serious way. In the first part of his essay, Hunt marks about the familiar hellish torture that one experiences on getting up upon cold mornings. The reason behind this punishment of torture is to show how lazy people would avoid early rising, and how are active people motivated to rise early. In the second part, he puts forward clever and deceptive arguments in favor of laziness by quoting many examples and facts. He goes on to write of the virtues of the man who remains in bed as long as he can, referring to it a little later as decumbency, contrasting him with those irritating folk who leap up despite sub-zero temperatures by saying, if they cannot entertain themselves with their own thoughts for half an hour or so, it is not the fault of those who can. The warmth, he adds, is only natural for warm-blooded creatures such as ourselves, and the cold brought about by this, to quote the text, in the inharmonious and uncritical abruptness of the transition, unquote, by those who force another to get out of bed on such a morning are, to quote Milton, harpy-footed furies, referring to line 596 from The Paradise Lost. So on waking up one morning to find one's own breath rolling forth as if in the open air, like smoke out of a cottage chimney, what must one do to avoid being dragged out earlier than one would hope? Leigh Hunt advises distracting one's servant, making him perform somewhat unnecessary tasks, one that has been exhausted. Yes, it is time to get up. To strengthen his argument against leaving the warm bed, he quotes, "It sweetly recommends itself unto our general senses," referring to Act 1, Scene 4 of Shakespeare's play Macbeth. He refers next to John Thomson, author of Seasons, years 1726 to 30. Motivation, after all, is an important part of getting up and braving the chill. A money-getter may be drawn out of his bed by 3 and 4 pence, but this will not suffice for a student. These are lines from the text of the essay. In fact, the only real motivation, the only thing perhaps worth getting up on cold mornings, is a lady. She may flatter him out of bed, persuade and cajole him into it. Leigh Hunt concludes this little essay Other little helps of appeal may be thrown in as occasion requires. Now let us analyze the essay. Hellish torture. Everyone agrees that it is indeed very difficult to get out of bed on a cold morning. The sudden transition from warmth to cold is a hellish torture. One gets up only on compulsion. He compares this torture to harpy-footed furies dragging out lost souls from fire and thrusting them into ice. Reason behind this hellish torture. Getting up on cold mornings and shaving are punishments given to mankind. For Adam and Eve had sinned against God. Before sinning, they neither had snowy winters nor Adam was compelled to shave. Ways to avoid early rising by lazy people. Hunt sets himself as an example to show the ways to avoid early rising. First of all, he starts an inquiry about the cold weather outside to his servants, who has the intention to wake him up. Next, he commands to keep ready all the articles and dresses required. Then he orders the servant hot water for shaving, and he finds excuses on saying that the water is either too hot and so he needs some time for the water to cool down. Then at last he had no reasons to excuse, and so he got up and was ready to shave. Active people's motivation. Businessmen may get up early since they love money more than comfort. Some people who are slaves to daily routines or rather machines like the barometer would get up early to maintain their pride. Argument. Shaving. He argues that shaving is a villainous custom, since the cold razor is a contrast to warmth. Even Queen Eleanor divorced her husband King Louis of France because he had shaved his beard. So he states that beard adds impressive looks to a man. Argument. The pleasure of late rising. He marks about the poet Thomson, who accuses a man getting up late. Hunt says that even Thomson himself used to get up at noon, thereby expressing his laziness. So no one can refuse the pleasure of late rising. Argument. Health. People say early rising is good for health, but Hunt says that there are no proofs for this so far. But however sudden change in temperature due to getting up from bed may bring shock to the body and thereby affecting good health. Argument for the longevity of life. If in case early rising increases longevity of life, if it is true, this does not mean that long things are beautiful. For example, the longest street in London, Holborn, does not mean that it is beautiful because it is long. Likewise, a short life with joys of late rising may be better than a long life with sufferings of early rising. Finally, the conclusion. Hunt has neither moved the arguments to absurdity, nor has he advised to rise late. He just brings out the pleasure in late rising. With this we end looking at the essay Getting Up on Cold Mornings by Leigh Hunt, prescribed for the students of BA Part 2 English Literature Paper 2. Thank you.